There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission.
Well.
Back at it.
Episode, what did it say, 109?
109.
Yeah.
Crankin Hawgs. I couldn't wait to say that.
There it is.
Great title.
Hunter's been waiting for 4 weeks to just let the cat out of the bag, and
Crankin Hawgs.
there it goes.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
fantastic. Episode 109, we're going to talk about crankbait rods and guide spacing. We're going to have Professor Chris's corner
Oh, nice.
with the, is that what we call it?
Yeah, I think that's what you called it.
Yeah. And for anybody that's watched 108 of the previous episodes know that when I get on that whiteboard, it's, as my mom said, I should have been a doctor. Not because of the brains, but because of the handwriting. So I apologize to any doctors out there. But anyway, so we are going to go to the whiteboard tonight. We're going to go to the deflection chart. And we need to talk about what makes a good crankbait blank. Mm-hmm. Because there's a little bit of, back and forth between anglers that are from the same area and anglers that are from different areas. You know, we got some guys that like those old, like S-glass, caramel type blanks, which y'all can have them because I don't care about them. But then again, I'm also from Florida. So,
Yeah.
we have to draw all these lines because we got to cater to somebody in Tennessee and we got to cater to somebody and, like Matt Steffen up north. And then we got to worry about when we crank down here, which is completely just not different, but it's weird.
Yeah,
it's
it
weird.
definitely is different. And, the crankbait blanks are really cool to me because they're so unique. They're a great example to use to explain action.
Okay.
Not necessarily power. Power is a whole different scenario, right? But when we talk about, and we show in the deflection chart soon,
Yes.
moderate, mod fast actions, you're going to be able to visually see what that means.
Yeah.
Very different than a fast and extra fast, obviously.
Right.
But being able to see that on the graph or the chart, what that moderate or mod fast action is, and why you would use it for a crankbait or a rattle trap or some of those moving bait type of applications.
Yes.
Which, funny enough, we have a new series from American Tackle called the Moving Bait Series, Blanks.
Yep.
We're going to explain why you should be using these blanks for your moving baits, crankbaits, stuff like that. So
Exactly. And, I think, like you were saying, we're going to show you, because I'm somebody that likes books with photos. I'm a picture book kind of guy. So we'll talk about it, but we're also going to show you, hey, you see this bend and things like that. And, of course, that is going to also translate into guide spacing. So we're going to talk about that, right?
Yep.
We'll give you guys a little insight into some rod recipes maybe. There's some arguments there. Some people like a full-length handle, some people like a 14, some people like a 12, whatever. We're going to walk you through kind of why and how we like certain things because, you don't necessarily need something like a very exposed or skeleton seat for maximum sensitivity if you're just throwing a 10XD out there in 20 foot of water, but we're talking comfort because you want something that fits your hand properly. Like you wouldn't catch me dead throwing a cranking rod with an ACSM.
right.
You're going to see me with an ECSM.
Cranking or any fishing.
Or
right?
anything for that matter, for sure. But we're going to talk about that, some things to keep in mind because, it's going to be a different handle setup than if you were, building something to fish forward-facing sonar with a hair jig with.
Sure. Yep. And
If,
one thing
if you
we
like
also,
doing that.
Yeah, the other thing we need to touch on too.
Is it cheating?
Oh boy.
I'm kidding.
You want to talk about debate?
Nope. All right.
Material's a big one, right? We're going to discuss kind of like, why some of the, older style blanks were all fiberglass and some still are. Some guys prefer that, like you mentioned. now, especially in the MHX like crankbait series, those are more of a blend of graphite and glass. You kind of get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And then the moving bait series is kind of its own creature because it's a mostly carbon blank. I guess I should say not carbon, but I'm sorry, completely blank. Graphite.
Yeah.
With a glass, a fiberglass tip.
Sure.
So it is a composite, but it's the materials are kind of segmented to bring out the best advantages of that rod blank for a crankbait. So.
Yeah, and it's going to be very, we can talk about that, but it's going to be more apparent when we show it.
Yeah.
Because we can, on the deflection chart, you can put 2 blanks up there. You can put a crankbait rod behind an MBS, but then you can also put something like an MB843, which is everybody's favorite, medium, heavy, fast. And then you're like, oh, I can see how that fast is a little there, but then it's a little bit of moderate there. So, yeah, it's quite the mix.
Yep. Anyway,
we got some new products.
we do.
Housekeeping.
Some housekeeping. I'm going to cover this real quick here. Let's start with, we have some new sizes of Pro Paste and also the Fast Set Pro Paste. So not just the standard slower set, but also the Fast Set.
Yeah.
64-ounce kit up to, 32, 64, and a 128-ounce kit.
Nice.
Right? So this is the 64. You guys can imagine how big the gallon kit of this is.
Yeah.
Tons of epoxy.
Only available at Costco and is what it is. It's going to be right next to the 5 gallons of mayonnaise.
Yep, exactly.
Get your gallon of
the
Pro
bulk
Paste.
purchase for sure.
For sure.
But we've had a lot of requests for this, and I know there's plenty of guys out there. Even if you're only building maybe 10, 20, 30 rods a year, it doesn't hurt to upgrade to a bigger size like this. Pro Paste doesn't go bad in a couple weeks. General shelf life is about a year, so this stuff lasts a good while.
Yep.
The more you buy, the bigger quantity, obviously, the better price you're going to get. So, 3 new sizes in our Pro Paste, regular and fast set. So good stuff there. Let's talk about the inletting tool.
I think it's cool.
So-
we don't even have it.
This might be the last one in the building. I'm
That's
not sure.
it. So congratulations to everyone that bought one.
If you got one, I know it was very well received on social media.
Yeah.
Shout out Jake. Good
boy.
job. Great content there to show off this really cool new product from CRB Pro, the inletting tool. The unfortunate side is we did sell out very, very quickly. We had a couple hundred in stock and they flew off the shelf. So
Perfect.
go ahead and hit that email reminder on the product page to be the first to know when this comes back into stock. We are looking at about, I would say, 30 days out, mid to late May on this. So just a heads up there, a little bit more time, unfortunately, till we get a restock on these. But if you were one of the lucky ones that did purchase this, good for you. It is a really cool tool to not only, maybe inlet a cork grip to fit a reel seat, but you can also add an inlet to put a coin or a nice decorative touch into your cork grip or EVA or whatever. You can also use this to, inlet for foregrips or, like a ULH foregrip style hood/foregrip, I should say, for your reel seat. So this isn't just kind of a one-trick pony. It does a couple very cool things that, specifically more on the cork side, but you can, obviously use it for the other materials as well. But
I think part of the good thing about this, though, is that we do sell spare parts.
Yep.
So not only does it come with an extra set of set screws, which is huge, you're going to get the hex key in it to change them, but you can run over and buy a whole nother set of blades. If you happen to drop or break or lose or whatever some of your blades, you can buy a whole other set.
Yep.
So, OneHole.com.
And if you have a former Crafties cutter and you need replacement blades, the replacement blades for the CRB Pro inletting tool will fit your Crafties cutter.
Ooh.
I mean,
Okay.
we're making it easier,
It's what we try to do best here. There's a couple things we make hard, but that is not one of them.
It's not one of them. Moving on. New handle kits. Now, these have been on the site for a little bit now. These aren't new, super new, but a good mention. handle kits from Fuji/Angler's Resource. These come in a variety of different reel seat options, and then you got the grips. You got the reel seat arbor, insert if that's needed, butt cap. You've got a handle kit all in one nice package. Yeah, hold up a couple more of those if you would. So, you know, TVS, VSS, you know, go down the list of reel seats, and there is probably a handle kit to facilitate that. So,
this looks an awful lot like how I build my VSS.
go figure, right?
I know that.
Yeah. Most of these are going to be in the size 17 reel seat option, just a heads up there.
Oh, interesting.
But, you know, talk about making it an easy purchase. These things are the ticket. Great price. You get everything in this one nice, neat package.
I like it.
And again, it's across many different reel seats. So some cool new products from Fuji and Angler's Resource.
That's awesome. Big fans. Big fans. What else you got?
So some additions to our X-Fighter lineup. We've added some 710 length options.
Yeah.
I want to say there's around probably 6 or 7 different powers included in there.
Yeah, because it goes from, so originally with the X-Fighters, for those that don't know, you know, they were built for like trolling and pulling hard on things like
Offshore,
that.
yep.
Right. And initially it was like, they had like an under 5-footer to 5.5, and then maybe a 6-footer.
Yeah.
And then you guys expanded out to do some 7-footers.
Mm-hmm.
And then as it got longer, we also brought in like a light power,
Right.
which is kind of very unique, but great for those that want to throw lures and fish around like piers and jetties, and, you know, because you want that durability and the power that an X-Fighter brings, but you're also kind of like, I mean, I can't do a whole lot with a 410
Right.
80 to 130 on a pier, but now you have the coolness of the X-Fighter, and now we're pushing all the way out to 710, and yeah, it is. It's like from light to heavy or light to extra heavy.
Right.
So that's
exactly.
a really cool option now that, I mean, especially at 710, oh my gosh. You can
Exactly.
do
Yeah.
all kinds of wild things with those.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, we want to make sure we're covering a wide range of applications. So, like, even if we're talking offshore, you know, we need to make sure that we're covering, you know, maybe a pitch rod to some smaller dolphin or mahi, right? Like, and even, you know, this isn't just offshore rods. Like, some of these 710 models would be great tarpon rods. Sorry, I lost my voice there. I'm recovering a little bit from a cold last week.
Yeah.
But,
Or a catfish rod.
or a
right?
catfish
Yeah, I mean,
rod.
a lot of
Sure,
guys out there want to build
like-
some catfish blanks, and those X-Fighters would do it. for
Yeah,
sure.
so it's not just offshore, obviously. There's plenty of other applications that these could be used for, but we want to make sure we cover that wide range of powers and not just limit it to, you know, a heavy and extra heavy and a 2XH. Like, you know, we need to cover that full range. So
For sure.
some good models there.
Here's a really good question. We need to touch on this here real quick. Charles, why not make it up to 8 feet?
So, Charles.
I would call one of the carriers that ships
Check
these
with
things.
FedEx.
Yeah, call FedEx and go, hey, would you tell Mudhole to make it an 8-footer?
Yeah, so, you know, and shipping is a whole nother ball game, and we
Yeah.
don't have to go into any specifics, but that is a
No,
really,
but that's why.
It's a great question. Shipping is becoming more and more expensive over the years. The thresholds are becoming shorter. It used to be, you know, 9 foot or 9.5 foot, and now it's creeped down to around the 8 foot mark.
Because then there was 9, so then the fly rod guys would make an 8-10.
Right.
And now that's out the window.
Right.
And then so it crept down to 8, so then you got to slide under that because you
Mm-hmm.
got to pad a little, so.
So you're going to be seeing more and more blanks hit that 710, even 711 range, as opposed to 8 feet.
Yeah.
And again, you know, shipping changes all the time. We try to get the best rates for customers. So even internally, we are working to, you know, is FedEx the best route or the best rate, or is it USPS, you know? So we're always kind of having to battle and figure out the best rates, the best dimensions, the best links.
Yeah.
And with that, unfortunately, comes changes to products as well. So that's, to answer your question, unfortunately, we don't want to do a 710 or a 711. We would prefer to keep it 8 foot, and that way you can cut it to where you want to.
Right.
But We also understand that shipping can be a major burden / expense to some customers. So if we can get that shipping, or if we can create that product to be under a threshold that it doesn't get dinged with a high shipping charge,
Yeah.
that's why.
And I'm also going to mention, because I know you said that you're an 8-foot user. Charles, we're talking like 2 inches. You can add on to the butt of that.
Yep.
Like, those X Fighters are completely durable enough that you can sleeve and add a little bit. So I would have no issue getting involved in a little bit of custom rod building and add that, run it out to 8'4". I don't know. But yeah, it's totally doable. It's totally doable. I have confidence in you completely, Charles. So.
Last but not least, we've got some new banners up on the Mudhole website.
I was wondering what that was.
Yeah,
I was
shop
like,
shop banners.
Are
Yeah,
we going to hang some?
Yeah, so think of similar size to this right here,
All
but
right.
obviously, more in line with some of our brands like MHX, American Tackle, etc. I'm sure the guys are throwing up links right now, but
Oh, yeah.
there we go, right there. So we got MHX, CRB, American Tackle. Hopefully, there's a Mudhole one in there.
It's almost like we have support behind us, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's just the brand. It's not Mudhole, but
Yeah.
Pro Products is in there. So, if you're looking for any cool banners to add to your maybe workshop or garage or whatever, these would be super cool to throw in there.
Sweet.
And that's going to do it for new products.
New products.
Yeah.
So, for those that like to listen to podcasts, and for those that have followed along, we have, Jim Crowley. Hopefully you guys have heard of him. Slickfish, he does TV, he does written content, he does YouTube stuff, rod building, lure building, fishing show, all of it. He also has a radio podcast. And Jake is going to be on tomorrow night, which is Wednesday, at 6:30 Central Time. So 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So Jake, they're going to be talking about hair and catching fish out of drains, things like that. But in all seriousness, if you got nothing to do tomorrow night, or you just want to learn something cool from either Jim or Jake, 7:30 p.m. Eastern in that Slickfish Radio podcast. I got a feeling we'll put up a link here somewhere how to find Jim's Slickfish Radio podcast. All right?
And last but not least, giveaways.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We do that here, don't we?
We do. I think that's why most people are here, let's be honest.
Yeah.
First giveaway of the night is going to be the CRB Light Casting Guide Assortment Kit.
Okay.
Nice price. Second is going to be a deflection kit. I'm assuming that's probably the chart and the tool together.
Yep, that's a kit.
Cool. And then the grand prize is going to be, as we refer to as an MBS rod kit, which MBS stands for Moving Bait Series, the American Tackle blanks that we're going to show you guys here in a minute.
And as always, you're going to need to send an email to live@mudhole.com. That's how you claim your prize. That'll come to me. You can also give us constructive or not constructive criticism. And then we'll decide whether we want to delete it or read it. And but in all seriousness, live@mudhole.com. And yes, I do go back to check to make sure, so you can't slide one in there and be like, oh man, I want a $100 gift card. So live@mudhole.com, that's how you claim those. Since it is April, and before we get cranked into this thing, we had a little fun. The team sat down in the war room one day back in March, and we said, hey, wouldn't it be funny to do something funny for April Fools? So we did something. A lot of y'all saw it, and even some asked for it as a real product. But we came up with the Executive, is what we call it, and it's the ultimate travel accessory for those that like to travel for work and for pleasure. Do a little fishing, do a little golfing. You can hide it in the golf bag. It doubles as a putter, but it also turns into a fishing rod. So, Uncle Phil, what do you think? You want to run that thing? And we'll give them a sneak peek if you missed the Executive from April Fools. We are going to shoot an April Fool's video for the executive.
Take one.
And action.
Good ball.
Thanks, man.
I think I know just what you need.
Text two. Hold my hand, boy.
Take one, martini.
Good ball.
Thanks, man.
Looks like it goes left a little bit. I think I know just what you need.
For the one who doesn't just follow the rules, but creates them. Even when days get rough, they always keep it on the green. With award-winning rod components, this kit combines setting new course records and setting the hook. Hole in one. Built by the hands that define tour-level players and those that catch trophy fish. This is the Executive Rod Building Kit.
You know, we try to have a little fun around here, so. And it is nice that, you know, it kind of fell near Masters weekend and whatnot. So it's, the executive could have been right there at Augusta. Could have been involved in a tradition unlike any other.
I mean, the way Scotty played, he could have easily putted with that and still won by 10 strokes.
For
probably,
sure.
so.
And then played with the Heritage and won, and probably could have all that. He could
For
play with it
sure.
the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So, in all seriousness, it was real. We did build it. We did use the Suka 2. It actually did quite well. We used the regular brass ferrules. So we cut the putter head and then ferruled it and used all the parts that you can buy here except for the classic ping putter that we had. And then we used a travel blank. So that was a TR844.
Mm-hmm.
So I put the ferrule on the end there and then it worked right in. And it actually fished okay.
It works.
The butt section was very stiff. I mean, it was there, but it was pretty fun. So threw a speed worm around a little bit and caught a bass.
Yeah.
So
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Really cool.
all right. So before we get going real quick, 3 of y'all sent in stickers this time. So it was really, really cool. Scott Lees loves watching the live events, YouTube, find a cool spot on the wall. He also added in a few more. So that is right here, and he did. Pirate Scott's Customs. So pretty cool. We're going to get them on the wall here. And then we do have some extras. We'll go around and pass them around the showroom. You might find them on a sticker. On a sticker wall downstairs. We might even stick it on the igloo. If anybody's been here to Mudhole, you know we have an igloo, right? The penguins aren't real, but the igloo is, I swear. Well, Scott, it's sticky. It works. It'll probably stick on it. How low can we go? Yeah, we can go down here. Sweet.
Perfect.
Okay, wide body, all the way across. All right, cool. Pirate Scott's custom rod out of New York. All right, and then we've got Keith. Hunter, you want to pronounce that last name for me?
Oh, here we go. Rhinal?
Sure.
Yeah.
So we've got
that's not right.
Little Lads Custom Rods LLC, and he says thanks, Chris. So thanks, Keith R. We'll get you on the wall.
Keith R. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Nice.
That's how I roll, baby. You're the pronunciator.
Yeah.
All right. I probably should
Pre-peel.
yeah, well, at least get them started. Yeah. You know, at least get them started. All right. Starting to get down there. Zoom in close and even see the phone number there. Give them a call. If you are in the Pennsylvania area,
Again?
what city is that? Oh my gosh.
Colpmont.
Okay.
Yeah. He's on Spruce Street.
He's okay. Yeah. If you're on Spruce Street in any town, USA. Yeah. I don't know about that. Keith is making up last names and making up other words for towns and stuff. Hey, and he's in.
Is he?
Tonight.
Nice.
Shoot you.
Oh, it's Scott. Okay.
Scott is. Oh well, yeah. Sorry, I got to go back a little bit. Anyway, and then we have. I can read that. Tom Roper. We got a little handwritten there.
Cool.
From North Carolina. Slam custom rods. I like the metallic.
Yeah, sharp.
Redfish tail on there. Maybe cranking redfish instead of cranking hogs. Oh man, this is another one I should have pre-peeled here. Oh, we're good. That's a really nice sticker. I don't know who does those, but that's nice.
Big sticker guy.
Oh, you know what? Can we start getting creative? I think we can get creative in here, right? Oh, I don't want to cover it at all. Can we do, no. You know what? Taylor, sorry. We're gonna cover you a little bit.
He's not watching. It's
No, he's not. There we go. How about that? It all fits. Sweet. Yeah. It would be like, oh, is your wife watching? No, she's not. Sweet. Oh, and Keith said that you pronounced it correctly. He said that was perfect, Hunter. You know that's not true.
No. Sorry for giving your street name away, Keith. But that's for that.
Oh yeah, right. I guess we probably shouldn't have just like read your whole address off.
No, it wasn't the whole address.
No, at least he left his social security number.
Right.
in. Awesome. Yes, Cody, we do need a bigger sticker wall. We might have to go. We might have to start going over there. We can take down that worm and the CRB perfect finish thermometer, maybe. Oh yeah, we got to cover that one. Hunter, I wish you'd have told me about that. We'd have covered that one up. We got more room since we were required to take the Benford stickers off by. Who used to own that show? Anyway.
Tool time.
Yeah. Hey, there was somebody in the building today, which if anybody comes to Mudhole here, world headquarters, and they want to come up and see the penthouse at Oviedo, Florida, let us know. If you're coming down here and the family wants to go see the mouse, you want to come over here because you don't like Disney, just come over here. It's like fishing Disney. Jake, how far are we from Disney? 30 minutes. Okay.
Space shuttle?
Yeah, right, exactly. You got to go to NASA to get a... No, but we are close. 30 minutes is... I'm going to say 41. I'm going to say 41 just to be safe. I know. All right, so Hunter, will you please tell me what makes a good crankbait blanket? Let's go ahead and get into this thing.
Let's get into it, huh? All right, a good crankbait blanket. Can't even say it. So to me, again, action is going to be primary, right? And you kind of tie in material with that, right? Like, I'm not going to choose a crankbait blank that's going to be all graphite. Because to me, you're going to lose properties of a good crankbait blank that you need. You want a little bit of forgiveness, a little bit of...
I like we're already disagreeing right off the gate here.
Oh,
keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay.
Going.
You know what? You're right, because there's a time and a place. I'm going to speak a little more general.
Okay.
I'm going to exclude Florida and some of the southern states from this argument.
That's pretty
not
pretty
argument,
fair.
right? It's not
That's pretty fair.
We're
It's
not
always an
arguing.
argument.
Yeah.
Keep going.
First of all, action, right? So I'm going to be looking for a moderate or a mod fast action. That's a must.
Yep.
And again, generally speaking, a crankbait blank to me is something I'm probably going to be using, 5 to maybe 10, 15 foot of water. It's going to be like a DT10.
Okay.
DT6, 6, right? Not 5.
No, there's 6. Yeah.
Yeah, DT6, DT10, etc. More of open water, maybe around some docks, right?
Yeah.
Not so much in the grass, which I know that's kind of where you're going. That's the kind of crankbait fishing to me. Even you could get to the extent of, fishing out on the ledges of the Tennessee River, right? And with that, we got to up our power significantly.
Of
If you're
course.
throwing those, DT20s, DD22s, 10XDs, etc.
When you really start cranking them hogs, that's it.
Yes. But those blanks still, if we're talking like a CB968, that blank still has a mod fast action.
Yeah.
Now, why do we want a moderate or a mod fast action? You're going to be using, more than likely, treble hooks, a bait that has treble hooks. You're going to be using, a legitimate crankbait. Could be a rattle trap.
Yeah. Which is a lipless crankbait.
Which is a lipless crankbait.
Sure.
Sure. It's going to be baits that are going to have treble hooks. And the whole goal here is once you hook up on that fish, you want that action to do most of the heavy lifting for you.
Okay.
You want to be able to, even with a hook set on a crankbait rod, you typically aren't really getting into it, right? You're not, it's not like a Texas rig or even like a jig to where, you got the bite, you reel down, and then you really give it a
Then
good
you're
hook
hitting.
set.
Yeah.
With a crankbait rod, you kind of more just keep reeling. You want that rod to absorb that bite.
Give a little
and,
sweep.
And load up
Yep.
with that moderate or mod fast action. And you just want to keep reeling until you feel that fish, and then you kind of set into them a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't want to overpower these fish. Even if you're using the sharpest, most sticky treble hooks,
Yeah.
you still run the risk of maybe only, skin hooking them.
Yeah.
In most scenarios with treble hooks, unless they've really got it really, down in their mouth,
Yeah.
you're always going to have that fear of that fish jumping off. So again, as long as you got the right tools, a crankbait rod that's set up to actually absorb that bite, keep that fish pinned, that's where your tools kick in and do the work for you.
Yeah.
So now I know when we get into grass fishing in Florida and some of the southern states, you might need to change that action a little bit because it is very difficult to fish a moderate action rod in, let's say Okeechobee with a square bill or a trap.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to change up that action a little bit. Go with something that's a little faster to be able to work that bait effectively.
Right.
So.
No, I agree with that 100%. And we were actually having this conversation the other day because we were talking about throwing a devil's horse, which is a topwater bait. It's got a prop in the nose and a prop on the tail, and it's trebles, and fish eat it in a weird way.
Yeah.
Not that they eat it like a crankbait, but when they eat it, it's not usually like, they might just get one little treble hook in them or something like that. And like you said, it's a situation of not only setting the hook, of just kind of having a sweeping motion and coming tight, right? And then just reeling into him. But when they have, let's say, a heavier crankbait in their face, because, what does a 10XD weigh? Like an ounce and a quarter or something?
Probably, yeah.
Ounce and 3/8 maybe. So we're talking a crankbait that is a 20 to 22 footer, maybe even more. And now you have a skin hooked fish and he's swinging around an ounce on his face that could come undone easier. And as that fish is shaking his head and your rod is trying to absorb some of that, kind of as that line comes tight and then he's shaking his head, your rod is flexing and giving with his head shake. That rod has a lot less tendency of coming straight, which introduces slack into that line if it is moderate and or moderate fast. If the rod is fast and it's fairly stiff until the last little quarter of it, if a fish shakes his head, the rod has less deflection in it, and then it's going to come straight, and then now he has, shaking that head and he's throwing slack into your line and your rod can't absorb it. We've all been there.
Absolutely.
And we have all been there. Now, where you were saying in South Florida, Florida in general, or grass lakes, where maybe you are throwing a rattle trap, lipless crankbait, or you're throwing a square bill, and you want a rod that has a little bit of a faster action because you are popping that bait out of grass. You can still do it with a moderate fast. You know, we throw a vibrating jig / chatterbait on a CB 906 all the time. And it's still fast enough that you can get something out of grass. Because, as you said before, it is complete graphite. It's full carbon, right? There is no glass in it. There's no glass tip in it. It's all graphite, right? So, which graphite and carbon, we use it interchangeably. So anyway, the reason behind if you do go to a faster rod, I would then go to monofilament. So if you go to monofilament, the monofilament is going to be stretchier than your fluorocarbon. And it's going to not offset it completely, but it is now going to give you a little bit of stretch and a little bit of give that the rod is now not going to allow. So that's kind of where I come in with, you know, that's why I also don't like the S-Class, because I think the S-Class for me is too soft. I know a lot of the S-Class guys are using, and when I say S-Class, talking about this honey color here. So, and I don't remember which one this is, if it's the 44 or the 43 or the...
I think there's only two in this, two to four in this.
Now this one is, you want to talk about the old Walmart wiggle? You can really get out there in that aisle by the snow tires and air filters and really give it a wiggle. This is, you want to pull on that thing a little bit?
Yeah, I could almost go all the way back.
So it is very nice for certain things. And I'm sure somebody's going to get on here and just going to chew me up and spit me out because that it's not a, you know, they've been throwing a wiggle wart on an S-Class in Tennessee for the last 50 years. But good for you. But I don't like it. But it does have a place. I promise you it has a place. It's just something that I just don't like it.
Yeah. Let's talk quickly about why you would want to go maybe for a blend or a composite versus an all glass.
For sure.
It's pretty simple in the point. Graphite allows you to, or when you do a mixture of graphite and glass, I should say, it allows you, graphite will allow you to bring down the diameter of that rod blank, right? And that's a very quick explanation, but with typical fiberglass blanks, you'll notice that they generally have a larger OD. They're bigger, they're heavier, they're more clunky. Yep. When you put graphite in the mix, it allows you to reduce the diameter, use less material, but you still get the same benefits of strength, I'll say. So when we can mix graphite and glass together, fiberglass, you get the best of both worlds.
Sure.
You can bring down those diameters and weights, physical weight of the rod blank, but when you still have that mixture of glass in there, you get the properties that work great for a crankbait or a chatterbait or any type of moving bait application. And then again, if you want to take it to the other end of the spectrum and go with a fully graphite blank, maybe it's MB873, MB843, 844.
Or the ones on the CB, not the CCB.
Yeah, because the CBs are still a blend, though. They're still a blend of graphite and some glass mixed in. They're just not...
I think you're thinking of the CCB.
No.
No?
No, all the CBs are a blend.
Okay. Yep. I thought they were a blend of graphites. Like, I thought that they were...
still a little bit of glass in there.
Gotcha.
Just a little bit. But now, if we switch gears and go to like the American Tackle MBS series, again, that's a whole nother animal because you're dealing with a mostly, 3/4 of that blank is going to be graphite, and then it's going to have a solid glass tip. So you have a transition point that's visible in this rod blank. It goes from a kind of a, satin black color, very dark gray, to a lighter gray color. And hopefully we can pick that up on the camera there.
Right here behind my hand. I don't know if you can.
Yeah, maybe just a hair.
Ooh, you can see that black
yeah,
line in the blank there. That is the end of the carbon flag there.
Yeah,
Just
so
kind of rolling it,
there's a transition
and then it comes out to glass.
from basically all graphite
Whoa.
to a glass tip. So, you know, these are going to perform even differently than, say, an MHX CV.
Yeah.
Because instead of having a mix or a blend that incorporates graphite and a little bit of glass, you're going to have a blank that's made up of mostly graphite with a transition to a, I believe, a solid glass tip.
Yeah. So that can be pretty fast out there, right? And then I can kind of lift up on it, but see, and that is a little bit of moderate there. We got to check Funky's guide spacing here. But this is one of the reasons why we wanted to talk about this stuff is, you know, you have a mixture of more of an extra fast tip because everybody at home is probably seeing this and they're like, whoa, that's fast-ish, right?
Yeah.
And then
Pull up a little bit more.
and then it gets moderate fast, okay? So yeah, and that is Funky's Square Bill Special, as he calls it, or something like that. So,
And I'm sure you guys are wondering, well, what's the best one to use? Well, that's up to you. Because we have all these options available, but at the end of the day, like most things in rod building and fishing, it's personal preference. You know,
we're gonna be here all night for that.
If you're one of those guys that fishes that wigglewort for 50 years, you're probably going to be more on the side of an all fiberglass rod blank, right? That might be something you're comfortable with, you're used to, and that's going to fit the bill for you. If you're wanting something a little more new, a little more modern,
Yeah.
you know, those CVs from MHX are great. MBS from American Tackle is kind of a blend of both. So, you know, to an extent, you got to just try them out and see what works for you.
I don't know.
But
And he did a really good job with this too, matching it all up because he used the carbon handles and the CCT seat, and everything is really, really nice. I mean, it's a very unique blank that I think. So there's 3 models of these. Okay, there is. I think this one's the 6.8. Look at that. So there's a 6.8. This does a quarter to a half. So this is great for your square bill. And if you wanted more of kind of an accurate lipless, or I bet this would probably be excellent for a spinnerbait blank.
probably.
Because, you know, like it has a little bit of extra fast properties, but then it has more moderate properties. Sometimes the big fish will come up behind a big spinnerbait and they'll eat it, but they got the blades. And so if you snatch on them instantly, because there's so much contraption in their face, you might miss a hook set, right? But this would probably be very good for that. That's why I would say, because Funky and I were talking about it, it's like, well, which one do you get if you want to try one? And he's like, well, you know, so they have the 6.8, and then what's the next model?
I think it's 7.3.
3, 7.4?
7.4? I think it might be 7.4.
Let's see here. So the 7.4 is a 10 to 20. So this is going to be something that, as you see, Funky's got a chatterbait on here. And then this can also handle some of your deeper cranking. Now this is not going to be a crankbait blank that you're going to throw a 20-foot diver on because it's only rated up to about 3/4. But that's why they make the big dog. I actually have it on the deflection chart. We'll have to show that later. But that I think is what, a 7.8?
7.10.
7.10?
I think it's 7.10.
7.10, 7.8. So if it was me and I was going to try a moving bait series out for the first time and I wasn't throwing a super deep crankbait and that's it, I'm going to get either the 6.8 or the 7.4 for sure. The 6.8 is probably super versatile in terms of, you know, throwing a square bill, throwing a lighter chatterbait, throwing a trap, doing some things like that. and you still have your accuracy, throwing your spinnerbait around docks, things like that. So just to give your kind of, wrap your brain around which one to get and what you need to do. The long one is 100% for, deep cranking, and you could probably get away with some, maybe even throwing an A-rig on it. But I would stay for the middle one for your middle divers, probably your 14 to 16, 12 to 14, something like that. And then this one is 100% your square bill and, other stuff. Now, if you don't want to do the moving bait series one, the blank that is very comparable and similar to this is going to be like the CB845. Okay, so the CB845 is going to be your square bill rod. It's going to be a 7-footer, and it's also going to be, you can cut it a little bit, but it's a 7-footer. So, and I do believe, aren't you going to fill some of those holes in that?
Yeah, so we do have some, we're a few months out still, but we are going to be going into the crankbait series with MHX and filling in some gaps that have been much needed for quite a while now. So, I don't know the exact models offhand, although I should.
Yeah.
You can look at that series on the website and see that, there might be an 842 or an 843 missing, an 844. We're going to fill in some of those powers that are missing and also length options to really fill out that entire series all the way down to, 6.6 all the way up to the 7.6s. So
cool. Really quick, I want to touch on just a couple questions here because they were kind of asking about, let's see, just directly for, John says he uses strictly fluorocarbon for his cranking applications. I agree with that 100%, John. The only reason I was saying about the mono is if you have to introduce something like a little bit of a faster rod in there. Let's see. Tracy, yes, it is personal preference. Is there a chart to help narrow it down to what I'm looking for? Not necessarily. We don't have like the all-knowing single chart, but the MBS, there's 3 models in those. Those are very, they do a great job of explaining, lures, powers, and there's only 3 models. So it's not like crazy overpowering for you there. And then on the MHX ones, you've got the CB and the CCB. There's not a ton of powers, but there's different lengths, right? So don't worry so much if you want to get in there and you want something to throw like a 10-foot diver and you want like a CB 905, so 90 inches and a 5 power. We also make it in a 7-footer. And, we're going to be expanding it a little bit too. And then if you're going to be throwing like really, really heavy crankbaits, I saw somebody mention in here they wanted to try the 928 because we've got a 928 and we have a 968.
we do.
So the 928 was kind of spawned from one of our good friends and professional anglers, John Cox, if anybody remembers him. He really liked that power and action, but wanted it a little bit shorter and to not throw a crankbait on. Remember, the rod blank doesn't really know what it is. And I was going to mention here, somebody had said, looking for a good 1-ounce swim bait blank. Corey, don't overlook some of the heavier crankbait blanks because the SWB is a swim bait blank. That will handle a 1 ounce. It's 711. But it's definitely a cousin in action and power to like a CB 928, which is 92 inches, or the 968, which is an 8-footer for those 8-foot people out there. We got that too. And then somebody also mentioned about snook throwing hooks. A crankbait blank, yes, I think we do. I saw that earlier. Somebody said we need a counter for every time we say crankbait blanks. And then you got to take a shot, and then the show will go much quicker because we'll be on the floor. But Kyle, yeah, is that blank going to be good for fish that jump and throw hooks? Lost a couple snook. Yes. You can do something like a CB968 or an SWB blank, and it is going to have power to set the hook because it is a heavier power blank, but it's still going to be moderate fast type of an action. So when you do set the hook on that snook and he stands up, even if it's not treble hooks, and he's got a flare hawk or if he's got a big single swim bait, you're going to be able to pull on that fish because it's a 8 power, it's an extra heavy, but it's going to have enough moderate fast in it that you can lob a big bait, but you can also keep him stuck. So anyway, and Matt Martin, hey Matt, love the 710 for the DT20 for spotted bass. Okay. You get a lot of spotted bass here in Central Florida, Matt? Hopefully you've been out and caught some big ones out there in like Smith Lake and stuff, because that is awesome. But no, Matt is he's a great rod builder here in Central Florida and a friend of mine. So glad to see you're not getting pulled in too many directions, Matt, and you get to join us tonight for the show. So, yeah. But now I got to give something away. It's already 7:30, almost.
All right, let's do it. CRB Light Casting Guide Assortment Kit. It's a mouthful. First giveaway of the night.
See what kind of name we get tonight. Uncle Phil, cue us a good one up here.
Come on. Come on. Easy name. Easy name.
And if Mudhole wins, we got to do a gift card.
Bill Tucker.
Look at there.
Love that, Bill. Great name. Great giveaway out of YouTube. First one of the night.
All right.
Perfect. Congrats, Bill.
Hopefully we don't have a, we don't have a full sweep because we know what happens there. All right. We need to talk about proper spacing through static deflection. This is the thing that I always like to say is every time people are like, don't you just have a spacing chart? Yeah, we do. Or I use the spacing chart and it's not right, or I don't like it, or it's whatever. We know. We have to sit down and build a spacing chart to get you almost there.
Got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere. And it's very close. And I can promise you it's probably better than any other rod that you've bought from Bass Pro Shops or Walmart or whatever. But we also understand that that same spacing that comes with that guide kit, and the LZR kit, and whatever, it doesn't say that it's for a light power or an extra heavy power. So remember, that's going to change, and of course, handle length's going to change. Are you that guy that doesn't like to pay for dinner and he's got those alligator arms? Like you can't ever get that wallet out of that pocket, and you really need a really, really, really short handle? Or are you a tall person and you want 11, 12-inch handle? That's going to adjust your reel, which is going to adjust your stripper guide. So please take into that account. So we're going to show you a little bit here we're going to go to the whiteboard, and we're going to talk a little bit about, Justin, you got to wake up there, bud. No, I know you've been in there. So Uncle Phil just like pointed at you like you've been asleep or something, which I know is not the case. So whiteboard, and we're going to talk a little bit about setting up for static deflection. All right, now, how's this? Is this okay? Whiteboard enough? Perfect. All right, so static deflection. We're going to deflect the rod blank. And Hunter, what do you call it? About 90 degrees, right? Isn't that what we say, no more than?
Correct.
So
no more than 90.
When I say no more than 90 degrees, okay, this would be your rod blank deflecting, 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 and 90 degrees, right? So this is 90, right? You remember that from right there? Put the little box in that corner. It's 90 degrees. Geometry, I think, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's not calculus. All right, so we don't deflect more than this, okay? And this is a gross misrepresentation of probably what your rod blank is going to look like. But don't do it any more than this. If you take your rod blank and you pull it back under here like this right here is what we call a rod break, typically. And usually people do it when they're like trying to get it out of like a, like your hook keeper or something. You pull it back up under itself and you break it. So what I recommend doing is if you're new to static deflection, you take the chart that we give you, okay? Now, you're going to take your rod blank, and I'm going to like angle it up just a little bit so it looks more like you're fighting it, and it's not, I'm just doing this for 90 degrees, right? So we got a reel, we got a handle, right? Fighting butt, okay? The rod's going to go up and bend over, okay? So I got to, I got to kind of look at this here. So if this is about the peak, right? Make that a little heavier. So that is about the peak of where the rod breaks over, right? That's the highest point, right? There's got to be a guide there. Put a guide there, okay? So we also know that if this is a casting reel, your first guide needs to be like 19 to, do you run it out to 22 or you like
21, 22, depends on the length. You know, if you're getting a 7.6, 7.9 range, then sure.
So 19 to 21 to here, okay? And that is a little farther. That is from the eye that comes, the line comes out of the reel to the guide out here is 19 to 21, okay? So we already got 2 guides on the rod, right? Then we can take this distance here, because if you notice, this section of the rod blank is straight, and it's gonna be straight like all the time. If this part is flexed, this is where this happens, right? It's where you have a breakage, okay? Call warranty department, right?
Yeah,
and
not
tell them,
covered under a warranty.
yeah, and tell them you know, you broke it on a 2-pounder or something. That's what everybody says. It's always a 2-pounder. I wish somebody would just break one on a big fish and be like, I lost a fish in my life and I broke it, but it's always a 2-pounder. Anyway, so you need to figure out about this out here. This is always going to be straight, okay? This, from the tip to this guide, should never be less than 2.5 inches. So never less than that, right? So we'll just call it 3 inches out here, okay? And then we need to kind of start figuring out what we want in here, all right? Now, if it's more moderate, this breakover point will be backed up a little more because it's going to have more of a parabolic bend, right? It's going to be a gentler bend. If it's extra fast, this is going to be out this way a little bit. So you might only have like 2 guides here. So this one might be 3, and then the next one might be 3 1/8 from that one. So then 6 1/8 from the tip, and then you got this one. And then you can kind of sort of work your way back here, and you know where you have a stopping point. And then from there, you can kind of make it aesthetically pleasing, but also have your chart, have your rod, have your static deflection, chart, rod. And then we can just make it work in here, right? So the good news is we also have a static deflection chart. And we also have rod bands, and you can use tape, and you can do all that stuff. So you can lay all this stuff out, put your guides on there, and then we can put it in the static deflection chart, and we can move stuff all around and go like, okay, that needs to slide down this way a little bit, that needs to slide this way, or we need to add a guide because we've created a complete mess of this thing, and we just need to add another guide. So, am I leaving anything else out, Hunter?
You did a great job.
I don't know if I go that far, but that is close enough. This is when we talk about static deflection and everybody freaking out like, oh, I got to give me the spacing and all that. This is a good place to start. Just sit down, rewatch this.
Yep.
Right where it breaks over needs a guide. This part is going to be straight in almost every rod blank. Figure out where about that is. You should never have a guide closer than 2.5, 2 7/8. So we'll call it 3 inches. Then start to work your way back. This one's 19 to 21. And then we're going to fill in the guides here. Okay? And we need to make sure that the line on the rod does not touch the rod blank.
Correct.
And you can load it up. Just try not to go past 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Okay?
And you can approach this many different ways. You could use the method that Chris kind of outlined here. Put a couple of your guides, your pivotal guides.
Yeah.
You could put those in there, your first
Because right
guide.
there we already got like 4.
You got 3 or 4 already done, right? And then, like he said, you can fill in the gaps, where you need to. Or you could go ahead and just use standard guide spacing, right? Put your guides on that blank, and then kind of work backwards, I guess I should say.
Absolutely.
There's different ways to approach this. It doesn't have to be exactly the way Chris did. It can be going by a standard guide spacing and then moving your guides to adhere to this particular rod length that you're going to use, right? So
Yep.
there's not one way to do this. There's multiple, so.
For sure. But that's close enough.
Yep.
All
All right. What else
Sweet.
you got?
Let's get this out of here. What else do I have?
What else? What else? I had a couple questions here. Pretty good ones.
Oh, I'm sure.
Scroll back up.
Who
real
let him do
quick.
that?
I know. Let me get to that question real quick. Here we go. New to static deflection. Do you install the tip top to do the static deflection?
I do, but that's just because I can hang weights on it, right? So you can see these guys here. Got weights hanging on there. So need to move cups here. Put our hydration station back here. So this is what it looks like when we're on a static deflection chart. We got a camera over there that's right at it. And then, of course, we have a couple different cameras here. Now, this is so to give you an idea, we have a MBS blank here, and we have a CB 905 behind it. Now, full disclosure, so that we can show this, all right, these rods are different powers, okay? So we had to add a little extra weight to the MBS than we did from the CB 905, all right? But as soon as Uncle Phil gets that camera there squared away, I want to show you something here. Good. I'm going to want that one all the way across. Well, no, that bottom one is actually, yeah, the bottom one's okay, is good. Okay, so if you notice, this rod behind is a CB 905, okay? And as we watch the CB 905, I took a little bit of, pressure off of it, all right? As you look at this bend, that bend is about as steady as you could possibly get, right? And it'll keep that nice bend. Let me pick this one up. See how nice? It looks like if you just let it continue, it would be like a perfect half circle. You could just keep it and going all the way around. So that is what people are going to talk about: moderate, fast in a crankbait blank. Okay? Now, this, and like I said, this has more weight on it, but it's because it is a different power. All right? If you notice, let me straighten this one out, because I know on camera it can be a little whatever. Yep. Uh-oh. Don't worry, it's live. Somebody asked, hey, are the blanks durable?
Yeah, they are.
They're very durable.
Good.
Good enough. Okay, sweet. All right, back to this. So, if you notice here, this section is flatter, okay? This is a fairly flat section. Now, yes, it has a little bit of a curve to it, but this is a fairly flat section here. You'd think with this giant film studio that I wouldn't kick stuff. All right, so you notice here, this is a flatter transition, and then you can watch it and kind of come over here. Now, again, this is 16 ounces and an 8 ounce on here. And we still haven't even gotten to 90 degrees with this blank. But if this is me, this is a really, really good example of the peak, okay? You cannot see it as well when it's like this, but I always lay guides out here, and I like to take and pull on a rod blank like I'm fighting a fish, right? So, yes, it is going to be like humped over like this, but I also will pull it out of the deflection chart, run line through it, and pull on it like this. So it goes up and goes over like that. And I'll pull on it from the side, and I'll pull on it like this, and that's how we check it. But this gives you the best possible starting point. So with your kind of breakover point, you can see how straight this section is, right? This section right here was the section I was talking about on the whiteboard. So that is, where's that tape measure? Mr. Hunter Man.
Right.
Okay. So this section down here, these two guides are almost perfectly straight, okay? So that is, from that first guide down is 3 1/4-ish, okay? The next one up is almost the same. Well, that one's 3 1/2. Hang on. 3 5/8, 3 1/2. That one's 3 1/2. That one's 4. So you can see this section here that it is a little bit straighter. 3 1/2, 3 1/2, 3 1/2, about, and then you come back here to 4. And then you can see, well, you can't see it, but right here is where we transition out of the glass and go into carbon, and that's why it's flatter. So then here, after we're beyond the breakover point, then you can space them back out, right? And then this one might be 4, 4 1/2, 5, 5 1/2, things like that, 6 1/2, and so on and back. So that's kind of how you find your proper spacing through static deflection. Now, let me show you. Let's really make a mess here. All right. Told you. But this is why we like doing this.
Yeah, Quentin,
break stuff.
the CRB micro guide bands are super helpful, along with just the standard guide tubing. The micro bands are very helpful for smaller guides, but the guide tubing in general, or any way to kind of affix guides to a blank and still being able to move them easily, is a lifesaver when you start doing static deflection or guide spacing, whatever you want to call it. There's going to be a point in time, more than likely, that you're going to want to move these guides, depending on, maybe it's adding a guide, maybe it's just moving that kind of apex point, could be anything. But using those guide bands, micro guide bands, very, very helpful.
All right. So we have an MB 843. You've heard us talk about that a lot. And so we added some more weight here. Now, if you notice, we're showing that the 843 follows this like really, really nice. So there is your spot where we go from carbon to glass in the moving bait series blank. I'll pick up, you can see the 843 behind it, okay? And then it's pretty much covering it. So all through here, it is showing a little bit of its fast-ish type of a midsection, because this is the heaviest MBS, right? So a lot of power in here. And then the 843, which is a fast, is clearly faster because it breaks over. So there's your breakover point right there. There's a guide on it. And then there's a couple guides out here, and it's a sharper breakover, so we're going to have a couple more guides, but you can see those two there are almost perfectly straight. That one starts a little bit, and then there's the one there that's pretty much at breakover. But you can see this is a faster blank here, which is, of course it is. It's MB 843, it's fast, right? And these lines up here on the chart, on the deflection chart, are like cheater lines, right? So this one is extra fast, this one is fast, and so on and so forth. That gives you kind of something to look at in terms of what are you looking at. Is it fast? Is it considered moderate fast? And this is one of those great tools where you can take a blank from us and a rod that you've already built or a factory built rod and try to match it. We do this all the time. You can come into Mudhole and bring in like your favorite rod and go, here, Bob, match it. We can pretty much match it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right?
Yeah, love it.
I guess.
Lots of good
Like it?
questions. I've
Like
been waiting.
Oh, no.
Been waiting for you to finish.
Oh, no. All right, start. You can hit me.
All right. I saw a couple questions. This was not the first one, but how does this work with spiral wraps? I would say it's
Nothing changes.
similar, a little different. Obviously, we got guides that are rotating on the rod blank, but
Yeah.
the concept is the same.
Yeah, you might be able to get away with one less guide
Yes.
because you're not having to worry about the line touching the rod blank because the line is on the other side.
Correct.
It's underneath.
Yep.
The spacing is going to be almost identical. So like space it like you would, and then you can probably get away with taking a guide away somewhere.
Yeah.
More than likely.
Right.
But the spacing is going to be so similar. Like use your spacing chart, or do just like you did with static deflection, and it gets it. What else you got?
How do you attach the weights to the blank tip? There's various ways to do
Yeah.
it. I think we're just using some paper clips up here.
Yeah.
So as long as your tip
Super
is attached
fancy.
to the rod blank, it needs to be attached like very good. You don't want your tip coming off with weight that's attached to it. That's going to be a disaster.
Because you already saw what happened here tonight.
Yeah. So anyway, as long as there's a tip on that rod blank, we're just using lead weights that you can get at
Yeah.
the store, just regular sinkers, nothing special.
This
And
is
then,
a fun, Justin, if you would, zoom me.
What do you got there?
So this is guide tubing. This is a Captain Todd original here, okay? So that is one of your like eye screws, right? And it doesn't have to be completely closed in, but it can. But this is guide tubing. See there? Whoop, whoop. That's GT1 or whatever, okay? This is the do-it-yourself CRB tip holder, okay? And this, I'll show you real quick, if you don't want to use a tip top. But we also have like, around here, we would keep like a bunch of the fly tops because they don't have rings in them. If they have a ring in them, I stay out on the frame. I don't put it through the ring. Let's see if this will work. Or we've already torn some stuff up tonight, but let's just see if this works. Jake, do you have that CB905 still or no? Does it have a top on it? No. Okay, cool. Thank you, sir.
Let's keep going here.
You got a question?
Yeah.
Waiting on-
I got actually a 2-for-1 here.
Uh-oh.
So guides. Can you ever have too many guides? Question from Tim. And then from Steve, how would you figure what size guides to use? Let me hit that one, or hit both?
Yeah.
So too many guides? Absolutely, you can have too many guides. I've seen a 7.2 rod have, I've seen a rod have 16 to 18 guides on it, right? Yeah. That's excessive. You do
Jake
not
did one time as
you
a
do
Jake.
not need that many guides. You need the number of guides that's appropriate for your rod build. And I know that's easier said than done, but there can be a point to where you kind of hit diminishing returns. You're adding so many guides on that rod blank that's not doing the purpose of feeding that line out to the tip in the appropriate manner.
Now you're just adding weight.
You're just adding weight. Exactly.
And more wraps.
With a casting rod, your ideal guide setup is one that does not allow the line to touch your rod blank. That's pretty much in a nutshell. That's it.
If it's touching, you either need to move them around or you need to add a guide.
Yep.
And if it's not touching, it's either perfect Or, you know, like Hunter said, you don't need 19 guides on a rod to keep it from touching. It's just, you're not even going to need that many. Even if you have like 4s.
And then Steve's question, how would you figure what size guides to use? So 2 approaches here. My recommendation, and the one that I usually go with a guide kit, a guide set. CRB or any of the manufacturers, we have Fuji guide kits, etc.
Especially to start.
To start, they're dialed in that you can pick casting, spinning, black or chrome, and then you get to pick what length rod you're using.
Yeah.
And usually these are ranges, 7 foot to 7.6 or 6 foot to 6.6.
Yeah.
These sets, these guide kits, are chosen specifically for whatever length or that might be.
Yeah.
They are general setups. They're not something that's used across the board for every single application or blank under the sun, but they will fit the bill for the majority of rod blanks and rods.
Yeah.
And it's a starting point again, right? So
For sure. And if you want to get super, super technical, you need to then start thinking about, are we doing like line to line with a knot? Are we doing straight fluorocarbon? Are we using braid? Are we flipping? Are we cranking? Are we, you know, like there is all different kinds. But honestly, that's why in so many of those kits and those LZR kits and stuff, there's 5s, size 5 running guides all the way out. You can almost just not ever go wrong with 5s in a light inshore application, cranking rods, and almost every single bass rod you could put size 5s on it and just call it a day.
there was one question and I cannot find it. I don't think it was.
Wasn't starred.
Here it is right here. Todd,
He found it.
stripper guide size matters also. It does.
It does.
But-
we have been in this argument before.
But, Chris and I would say for a just kind of general purpose
I was going to say, where are you going?
freshwater rod
Uh-huh.
casting, we typically start our stripper guides are size 7s or 6s,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
The reason for that is because the line guide on your casting reel is pretty small. It's about, I'd say, around that 6 millimeter, maybe even smaller, maybe a 5 millimeter size. As long as your stripping guide, which we use double foot guides, as long as that guide has adequate height, height is the most important factor there. The ring size can be as small as, if not smaller, than the line guide that's on your casting reel.
Yeah.
There's no point in going bigger. If you're talking a millimeter or 2, sure.
Yeah.
There's no reason, in my opinion, to use a 10, a 12, a 16 millimeter casting guide. It's just overkill. It's just extra material, it's extra weight. Why not just go with the same size as the guide that's coming off of your casting reel? And again, height is a big factor there. You typically don't want to start with a single foot stripper guide on a casting rod, unless we're doing like flipping or something where we're not casting a lot. But besides that, you want to make sure you're maintaining enough height for the angle that your line is coming off of that reel. You're going to have a slight down angle from your reel to that first stripper guide. And you want it to be, you do not want it to be very drastic. You want it to be, you know, kind of just a slow taper down. If you have a guide, if your stripper guide is way too close to the rod blank, that angle of the line coming off the reel is going to be very drastic and almost point straight down, or, you know, drastic angle. You want to avoid that. But that's where that double foot, little bit higher frame guide comes into play, because that'll get you the height that you need. But again, in my opinion, I wouldn't go even over a size 8.
Yeah, that's...
Double foot casting guide as my stripper guide. 8 and under.
Yeah, and this is a question here. Steve said, would you suggest a different size guide for a round reel over a typical casting, something like an Abu 6500 C3? Yeah, I mean, I grew up with 6500, 5500s. I'm a big round reel fan. It just like is nostalgic to me. You do need to take into consideration, as he was saying, the height from it. I still like to keep it 19 to 21, somewhere in there, inches from the front of the reel to your first stripper guide. With that being said, you're going to have to accommodate the height in some form or fashion. So an 8 is still pretty tall.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get, and every guide manufacturer is a little different. Like if you have a Fuji KW in an 8, it sits a little lower and it has an angle. So that 8 might have a different height than a CRB LZR 8, which might have a different height than an SSR 8. And that's another thing to consider is all the guides are going to be measured from the inside of the frame. So if you're going to use something like an SSR that has no ring in it except a stainless steel ring, it doesn't close in because of the thickness of a ceramic ring, you're actually going to get a little more height out of something like an SSR or a Minima or an Airwave or a Tie-Forged Air Guide because there's no like thick ceramic ring in it. So that's something to consider too. But yes, you're not going to run a size 6 double footer on a 6500 C3 Abu Garcia. You're just not going to do it. Now for one of these, this is, a loose speed spool, LFS, low profile, you can get away with a 6. There's some 5.5s out there that are kind of cool. And if you're not casting it, do what I do and run a 5.5 and then straight to 4s for a flipping stick because you're not casting it.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I'm sure there's plenty of comments about.
Yeah. And Abby said, does angle matter? Yes, angle does matter. And the reason that the angle matters is because now we're adding sharp angles, and sharp angles in rod building are not good, okay? Including with guide spacing with a spinning rod, right? So the spinning rod bends over, or your spiral wrapped casting rod. It bends over. If you have less guide, your lines are going to go, your line is going to go to this guide, and then a sharp to that one, and then a sharp to that one, rather than just gently transitioning through the bend. So if it comes off your fly reel, or if it comes off your round reel like this, from the top of the reel, right, it's going to get hung up in the top portion of that first stripper guide. So sharp angle to that guide and then a sharp angle out to the next guide, and we just want to stay away from sharp angles. So yes, angles matter. All right, that's probably enough for y'all, right? Maybe? What else are we missing? Did we not do something that, did we ever show this thing, Mr. Justin, sir? If you don't want to use your possibly hurt tip tops. This is guide tubing with an eye ring in it. I don't even think you probably need the zip tie, but there it is there. And that's 12 ounces hanging on that thing. So, just an idea. Yep.
All right.
And we do a lot of, somebody had mentioned something in there in passing by. We do a double-footed stripper and a lot of single footers.
Yeah.
I have single footers on a rod that I sailfish with. So, don't underestimate the strength for your single foot guides. Don't feel like you got to run double footers out there. All right?
Yep. One double foot stripping guide, and then the rest of your running guides are all single foots. It's pretty simple from there.
Yeah.
And again, that's not an all across the board 99% of rods. We're talking, kind of your general purpose freshwater bass rods, even some of the lighter inshore rods. Think low profile casting reels. That kind of application. Once you get into the taller round reels and, even some of your bigger, casting reels that guys use for cranking or swim baits, those are bigger reels. They're probably going to be taller off of the rod blank. You have to accommodate for that height. So again, that might require an 8 or a 10 or a 12 to accommodate that. But anyway.
We didn't show that caramel rod on it. All right, there's 12 ounces on the old honey, sweet honey.
Talk about a moderate action. That's the.
So there it is. That makes a CB905 look like extra fast. So yeah, that'll bend you down into the handle. So there's your S-Class. So that's kind of what the S-Class does there, with the same amount of weight as a CB905 to give you an idea. So yeah. And you can kind of see like the S-Class dampening properties too, because this rod is still bouncing a little, and this one doesn't seem to bounce nearly as much. It slows it down, like, so. It's kind of a nice power and action mixture for, you know, being gentle with big fish on those, I forgot, I called them earlier. What was it? Wiggle warts.
Wiggle warts.
Yeah.
All right, I think we need to do a giveaway.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I think we're a little
wake them up.
behind in our giveaways here. All right, so we're going to do a deflection kit, which there was a question earlier about the graph. So the graph can be purchased from Mudhole. It's called the CRB deflection graph, or deflection chart, either one of those two. There's also a tool that pairs along with this graph/chart. So that will be our giveaway for tonight, at least for the giveaway number 2, will be the deflection kit. It's going to be the chart and the tool itself. So let's ring that one up, see what we got. Michael Highfield.
All right.
Another YouTube winner.
Uh-oh.
It's 2 out of 2 so far. So we'll see where we land on the third one. Congrats, Michael. Good, great giveaway there.
All right, let's chat about some rod recipes here real quick, and then that way we can go over some questions in terms of like what people are doing about what you should fish with.
And by the way, we do have an announcement at the very end of the show.
Oh yeah.
Even after the last giveaway, which we're running a little
late
on time, but we'll make this kind of quick.
Yeah.
One thing that we didn't mention, I want to go over real quick on some of these rods that were, I'd say, what, 3 of these are Funkies, right? Alex Funkies?
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Is that his first name?
Yeah, you're right. I don't even think he has a first name.
It doesn't. It's just Funky. It's like Sting or Madonna.
Oh, full length.
Yeah.
Right? So for the longest time, I never used a full length grip on a rod. I thought split grip was the only way to go. It made sense. Why would you ever want to use a full length grip?
Well, you're from a small town.
But
I get it.
I grew up, I learned some things, and I figured out.
Funky's actually watching.
Is he? What
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Nice.
Oh,
Look at
man,
that.
He said easy.
Yeah.
All right, anyway.
That's cute that his wife lets him watch.
He's cussing you right now.
No. He doesn't have a bad bone in his body.
Why would we use a full grip over a split grip? It all depends, to me, on the application of that rod. If it's going to be something to where, you know, you're cranking, you might be throwing a swim bait,
Yeah.
you're going to have that rod tucked, kind of up against your side, even you kind of using your, you know, the end of your where your elbow is. It's kind of tucked there for a lot of the time, you know, it's on the wrong side. It should be over here.
You're on the wrong side.
Anyway.
That's why he has to stand on the left side of the table, you know, it's like.
If you're going to be using a rod or an application to where it's going to be tucked against your side the majority of the time, full length is the way to go. Because otherwise, you're going to have that little bit of split grip always kind of rubbing right against where you would tuck that rod. And, you know, in most cases, probably not too uncomfortable, but why would you want to have kind of a transition point right where that's going to be up against your body? So, full length grips, to me, for a crankbait rod, is where that really shines. And
Yeah.
again, swim baits, you know, even like A-rigs, umbrella rig rods, full length is the way to go. For a flipping rod, to me, not really gonna happen, right? Because when I'm flipping, I'm out here. It's not typically close to my body.
Right.
But for those applications to where you do have that rod close and tucked,
Yeah.
full length grips, way to go.
Sporty said, split grips look better. That's why I use them. Sporty, you gonna tell me that 3K full handle full carbon from American Tackle. That don't look cool. All right, Sporty. You got to get on that mudhole.com later. Check out that full length carbon. I think this is the 12. The cool thing I like about this is, like Hunter said, it's full length, but it's not full diameter full length like that cork one. Sometimes you want that though, because the cork is comfortable. But this transition piece right here is so smooth, you'll never feel it. And the diameter here is not as narrow as the rod blank is right there, obviously. So you're not going to be banging yourself against right that. And this is nice and just, it's really nice. Now I will say though, if you are going to throw a cranking reel, can you zoom in a little tighter there? Since Funky's watching.
Oh, no, you're
he
going to
is.
get him again?
Hey, Funk, why don't you get your wife to buy you some more line for this reel, son? Look at that. You can increase casting distance if you fill the spool up. Man. There he is. He
He's
said,
never going
"Dang."
to bring his rods in again.
He said, dang. They do look nice, though. Did a heck of a job. And as he did say, they are easier to glue because they are easier to glue. And they look good and they're lightweight. And I think those are the ones that have the arbors in them already.
I think so. And what's great about these
It is so cool.
these G2 handles is, the stigma around split grips is, they're supposed to be lighter weight. Sure, they look cool, whatever,
Yeah.
all right, I'll give them that. But with these G2 handles that are full length, you really aren't sacrificing or adding any more weight as compared to a split grip. These carbon handles are so lightweight.
Yeah.
A full-length carbon handle, G2 handle, probably weighs less than two separate cork pieces to do a split grip.
It's actually 1.12 ounces. So there you go.
Yeah, it's,
We got the guys in the war room working extra hard tonight.
yeah. So you're not losing much performance or adding extra weight if you go to a full length. Now, if we're talking a full-length cork grip, sure. Yeah, you got a little extra weight in there, right?
Yeah.
But these G2 handles, these carbon handles are slick. They're lightweight.
And making rod
sensitive.
building easy. You
And
don't
they
have to
do.
ream the whole thing. You don't have to do that. And I really like what, American Tackle has a number of different finishes. So like if you do have a rod blank that is a 3K, they got a 3K. If you've got one that is just the I don't know, does Bushido call that satin black? I know that NEPS is satin black, but we'll call it Bushido black.
Okay.
So they also have, in some of their grip sections and different things, they have that. And on top of that, they have full-length ones that are not technically full-length, but they adjust and slide and then look and feel just like a full-length grip, but you're not solely pinched into this being 12-inch, right?
Yep.
Then you're like, oh, well, that's the only thing. Even though you can come back here, this is a pretty good section that they have left it as a flat taper, right? So if you want to take an inch off of it, it's a flat taper. So you can take an inch out of the butt cap section,
Yep.
make it 11. So you're not having to worry about like, oh, well, I didn't want a 12-inch handle. Well, there you go.
Yep.
So, yes. Yeah. Somebody asked, do the carbon grips get slick when wet? Surprisingly, they don't.
No.
Nope. And I can vouch for that because they're nice. I like
Yeah.
it.
They're not really like tacky per se, like a
Oh, no.
wind grip would be. There's enough, we'll call it texture. The slightest, like not.
Yeah. And it's not like ultra gloss either.
No,
So
it's
I don't know. It's just
not,
it's a different.
Yeah, it's not slippery when it's wet. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. What else? What else? Guide-wise, we've talked about that. Of course, Funky uses a lot of the microwave stuff. Really, really great guides. Comes in a bunch of different materials. You can get them with rings, without rings, nanolites, duralites, things like that. Again, like Hunter was saying, if you're a little unsure, get the kit. In the microwave kits, they have a lot of great spacing suggestions. It'll give you from here to here. It'll give you the spacing out here. Are you using 7.2 to 7.4 or 7 foot to 7.2 or whatever? So that will help speed up your learning curve in terms of setting up your casting rods, whether it's cranking or not, of investing and getting you, a guide kit to start off, right? And then from there, you can branch out because we know you're not just going to build one. We know that. So, all right, it's 8:09. That's probably, I think we're good. I think we're good on that.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and you want to go ahead and do the announcement of this before are we going to do a 7 minutes in heaven with the questions? I feel like we've been covering them pretty good tonight.
Yeah, I think we've done pretty good on questions.
Yeah.
Unless there's any last minute ones you think we haven't hit.
We've been trying to kind of
7 minutes.
trying to hit them as we go through so that they the question and answer correlates to where we're at in the show. So since we kind of hung on to y'all a little bit long tonight, we'll let you slide on the 7 minutes in heaven question giveaway thing, whatever. But you want to talk about the clearance?
Let's do it.
Okay.
So, and we still have one last giveaway.
Yeah, so don't leave
on.
yet, but we want to make sure that y'all get this because you now know before everybody else.
So, for watching tonight's show, we always try to give our viewers a little bit of first dibs
Of course.
on what's going on.
Exactly.
We're having a spring splash clearance bash.
And it is.
I'm sorry, I just had to slow that down and really get it out
I'm
there.
telling you.
We're going to be hitting all product categories over the next
Yeah.
5 to 6 days or so.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be more than a splash.
Yeah,
And
and we're
we're going to
kicking-
get a bucket and a mop.
Yeah, we have tons of products in our clearance section right now, and we're doing some spring cleaning. We're clearing it out, and we want you guys to take advantage of the savings. We're going to be starting with guides. So everything in the clearance section that is currently discounted is going to receive an extra 20% off guides. Now, each day is going to be a little bit different. I got some right there. For instance, we'll be getting into some of the other product categories, maybe some reel seats, maybe some blanks, tools, decorative items. But to start this off, to kick it off, guides are going to be the catch of the day.
And we're not we didn't just go out into the dumpster and dig out guides. We've got American Tackle tie forged in there. Like we're not taking some 1985 guides and just putting them in clearance and splashing you with them. Okay, so there is some good stuff in there. Have a look, and each day is going to be most stuff.
Yep. So again, you guys get first dibs. We appreciate you watching each show.
Yeah.
This is kind of our thank you for watching the show and getting first crack at some of those great deals. Like I said, it's going to be a rotating. Each day is going to be a little bit different. We're going to go through all the product categories, but we're starting with guides.
Yeah.
Everybody needs guides.
We'll do what? We're going to go guides, blanks, reel seats, handles, tool supplies and gear, and decorative.
Something like that. Maybe not in that exact order, but yeah.
Oh, I didn't say it was that exact
Yeah,
order.
I know.
I was just.
I did.
I know you did. Hunter is now here to supervise.
Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody has got to do it. That's exactly right. That is probably, that's probably the most accurate.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so anyway, really good stuff. We went over a lot tonight. I know somebody was in here complaining about me with a marker and the whiteboard and all that. Hey, we're just trying to give it all to you. So let's go ahead and quit cranking the hogs in tonight on our crankbait giveaway. Moving bait series rod kit. That's the big giveaway for tonight. We still got over 320 people in here, so let's go ahead and get out of here with a grand prize giveaway. Now remember, if it's a YouTuber, we're gonna have to do something else.
I bet it is. I think I'm feeling a sweep.
You think?
Bam. Randall Miller. And great names all night. Love it.
That's it.
Randall Miller, YouTube. That's a sweep.
Yeah, he goes. Well, there goes my tax return. Let's see. I will say, since we had a sweep tonight, let's do, since we had one of our local guys here in the comments tonight. Let's see, who else? I'm trying to get, there's a bunch of YouTubers in here tonight. How about, yeah, exactly. How about Eddie? We're going to do a gift card. How you say
Endicott?
that? Endicott?
Endicott?
Endicott? He looks like he's got a pretty good large mouth there. Eddie Endicott. Eddie, don't go nowhere, Eddie. Make sure to get, you know, live at mudhole.com. That's how we'll get you your gift card. Eddie Endicott. Cool. So, congratulations, Eddie and everybody. Now the next show. Hunter's been asking for this one for a while, and now that he's important around here, we are going to do the axis versus spine episode. So whether you want straightest axis or you want spine for episode 110 in May, that is holy cow. So you guys better get saddled up.
Yeah. Put that on your calendars. It might be our last show. We'll see. It might just break the internet.
Make sure all the keyboard warriors coming out for this one. This one is going to be hot because there is going to be some opinions flying around here. That's for sure. So, what do you think? Is that about it? Run over and get splashed, get cooled off. Starting to get hot outside, so hit the clearance section before all those other people, you know, that don't watch the show start getting in on this thing. But what else? That's it. All right, so thank you guys and gals for watching tonight. In the war room tonight, I know Kevin and we had Steve here in the building. Birdman was here. Hoffma is always doing a lot of the cool graphics and keeping all them boys in check. You know, between Cool Man and Birdman and Hoffman, I don't know. That's what he is. All those guys helping out for sure. Sean took the night off. That was cool. You know, good for him because anybody that knows Sean Chaney knows he works hard in here. We had Justin over there on the Zoom. Now, Jake, thank you for tonight for helping as always. And please do not forget, let's not leave Jake hanging on the podcast. Slick Fish Podcast tomorrow night at 7:30?
Eastern. Yeah.
6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. We're currently in Eastern, so yes, 6:30 Central because Jim's in Central, right? All right, so Jim Crowley's Slick Fish Podcast. Now, this might be the one and only. Jake is going to go live Thursday at 1 p.m., okay? He is going to put the ShamWow guy to shame. He's going to talk about what? What are you talking about? Perfect.
I like that.
He's going to be talking spring splash bash and how not to get your hair wet. That's what he is. He's going to have the like skull cap on in here. But in all seriousness, show back up. We're doing a Jake Live show from the penthouse at 1 o'clock Eastern, right, Jake? Thursday, this Thursday. So in like, you know, a day and a half. Thursday, 1 p.m., he's going to be talking about the spring splash bash thingy clearance. I'm just reading what's on the teleprompter. Anyway.
My name is.
Yeah, exactly. He reads whatever they put up there. Anyway, all right. So, Jake, thank you again. Good luck tomorrow night with Jim, and also good luck Thursday. Please, you know, make sure we still have a show after that you get done with that. Uncle Phil was on the ones and twos, of course, and Hunter McCamey, my left-hand man. Appreciate you.
Of course.
I'm Chris Adams, and we will see you for Axis versus Spine in a month. What is that? The 21st, I think?
Yep, 5/21.
5/21 for episode 110. Still can't believe we've made it this far. We'll see y'all then. Have a great week. Month,
Thanks for watching.
whatever. Take care.